Hello and welcome here to TalkFCB and welcome back to the channel here today, guys, where we are going to be talking about the brand new season. La Liga is about to kick off for Barca this Saturday away at Mallorca, and today we're going to be talking about everything that you need to know before the new season starts, because I'm going to be answering your questions here. I've been posting in my community section here on YouTube. I've also had so many questions over on Instagram at TalkFCB if you want to get involved. And today we're going to be talking about the defence at Barca, about centre-backs, about full-back depth, and we're also going to have plenty of questions about midfield, about attack, what we can do going forward, Hansi Flick as well, and certainly too, there's lots to discuss on the board. More debate surrounding the registration issues that we continue to face. It's all on the way. It is all coming up for you. So come on, and let's do this. But if we do begin first of all, guys, with some questions here about form and selection at the club, because let's start here with a question from Kremlin, who says, do you believe that Eric Garcia should be starting ahead of Jules Kundai? Now, I've got to say, admittedly, Jules Kundai, he wasn't at his best against Como. It wasn't his best showing there in a Barcelona shirt. And Eric Garcia has been very, very good of late. But I do wonder there, against Como in the Gampa, was something wrong with Jules Kundai there? Was something maybe bothering him? He just didn't look too happy, in the pictures, in the presentation of the players as well. I really do hope everything is okay with him. Maybe somebody there can go and put a bit of an arm around him. Maybe he needs that right now. But look, when Kundai is locked in, when he's fully fit and when he's firing, you want him in your team. It's as simple as that. He is an absolutely unbelievable player at right back, and his combination play as well with Lamine Yamal, it is absolutely fantastic. But what I would have to say though, aside from all of that, I am happy at least that Eric Garcia is in the conversation. I am happy here that Eric Garcia is performing so well. He did very well at the end of last season. He's also followed it up now with some really good, encouraging performances here in pre-season, and because of that, he's adding some pressure. He's putting his name in the hat here at right back. And to be honest, that's exactly what we want from him. We have struggled, and we're going to talk about it. We have struggled for depth at full back. So somebody here like Eric Garcia improving their performances, having a growing influence on this team, it's giving Flick a bit of a selection dilemma in some ways. I think Kundai, he's still the number one choice. Make no mistake. Like I say, if he's ready, if he is feeling it, he is there every time in my opinion. But Eric Garcia is doing well, and long may that continue. We also have a question here on Instagram from Fabian. From what you've seen in this pre-season, who do you think will get the starting attacking midfield position? Will it be Fermin or will it be Dani Olmo? Now, in my opinion right now, guys, you've got to pay attention to these players who are in form. You've got to look at pre-season, think, okay, they're feeling good, they're feeling very confident right now, and you've got to play those players at the start of the new season, in my opinion. So that is why right now, I would play Fermin. It wouldn't even, to be honest, and no disrespect here to everybody else, but he's just been that good. He has been that decisive in the final third. And when somebody is scoring goals in that way, goals in football, they remain one of the hardest things to do. Scoring goals is very, very important, especially goals from midfield. So Fermin is bringing all of that quality and more. And that's not to say that somebody there like Dani Olmo can't get back in. I'm not saying here that we're just going to shut him out and cast him aside and forget about him. The season is incredibly long. That's what we're going to be talking about here today. Everybody will need to step up. Everybody will have their chance in the team. It's just about when that time comes, when you do get that opportunity again, when the door opens, you've got to be there. You have to make sure that you are taking those chances. And that's why I've said it's so important here that Olmo stays fit. Because if you're in and out of the team, if you can't really be relied upon, that is really going to hamper your chances, especially when you've got players now like Fermin, like Gavi as well. We can't forget about him. They are piling the pressure on, and that means you've got to up your game. We also have a question here on Patreon here today, coming in from Louise. Thank you very much indeed for your support, my friend. And he says, do you believe Barcelona will do any surprises in this window when it comes there to transfers? And I've got to be honest right now, guys, it's not looking that likely, is it, in terms of surprise incomings at the club? I think the only time really we will get a surprise signing is if really we get a surprise exit. I think that's the only way that it's going to happen. Or maybe if we were to suffer, for instance, a bad injury, leaving us really short somewhere in the squad, then we might be forced to go out and move some things around and try and get something sorted. But obviously, we don't want injuries. And to be honest, at this point, we don't really want any surprise sales either. I mean, Inigo's exit was bad enough as it was. So I just think right here, when you listen to Flick speak, when you listen to the way that he's feeling ahead of the new season, I think he's accepted, really, this is the team that he has, this is the squad of players that he will have throughout the season to choose from, and to be honest, I think Flick, he will maximise all of that potential. We then have an absolutely fantastic question, in my opinion, from Daniel here. What is the biggest challenge that you believe Barca will face this season? And that's really, really interesting here, because obviously Barca last season, they were incredible. They were absolutely fantastic. One of the teams of the season, not only in terms of the results, but also the performances. You know, even neutral fans last season loved watching Barca, and that's a really big compliment. You know, to put us back there again as one of the teams to be fearful of, that is a very, very special thing. But in my opinion, guys, one of the biggest challenges that we will face, it's about not really being a surprise anymore. That's in my opinion right here, because at the start of last season, when Flick came in, nobody expected what we saw. You know, not Barca fans, not people outside of Barca. Teams had no idea what they were facing, and we blew them away. You know, so many teams there, before they'd even gotten a glimpse of us, the game was gone. The game was over. We took it away from them. So I think we have lost maybe that surprise factor in terms of the high line, in terms of what we bring in the pressing and the way we set the team up. So obviously, teams will know what's coming. Second seasons in general, you know, you'll hear a lot about it. They are more challenging. You know, you do need a little bit of evolution. That's going to be interesting to see there from Hansi Flick. You've also got to keep your players motivated, buying into your philosophy, into your style of play, and you've got to keep those players as well feeling important. That's a challenge in the second season. But I think, to be honest, Flick's personality here will really, really help us, because the way that he is, he doesn't have favourites. You know, he doesn't just pick players that he seems to like and get on with and sort of cast aside the rest and just leave them out there for the fun of it. I think he is very direct, he's very honest. Every player that's in his squad now, that's in his plans, will know I can play a part. You know, he does count on me. He will give me an opportunity. I trust in him to do that. And I think that's really good, because I don't think here at Barca we're going to get any sense of complacency. I don't think there's going to be any overconfidence, any arrogance within the squad, because honestly, last season, we didn't fully achieve our goal. Now, the season was spectacular. Nobody can complain or say anything about that. But we still want the Champions League. There is still so much here this season for us to fight for, to work towards, that's really going to help us to maximise all of that effort and all of that enthusiasm from every single player. And can I also just say, guys, in terms here of other teams getting to know Barca, getting to know Hansi Flick now, it's also worth paying attention to the fact that works both ways, because I would also say this season, Flick is going to be much more prepared to take on La Liga. He will understand La Liga teams more. He will understand the style of play. He will understand, you know, what he's coming up against in terms of the refs, of the media. It's all just that bit more experience for him, because I think at times last season, we underestimated a few teams maybe that we shouldn't have done. We over-rotated at times where maybe it wasn't the best moment to do so. Flick will have learned from all of that. He will have so much more data now. He will have so much more confidence in what he is doing. And again, that is only going to help us. However, guys, what I would say, though, ahead of the new season is that there are plenty of concerns from Barca fans looking here at the questions, looking at the tone of so many of them regarding our defence. We have questions here from Jeffrey, from Roger, again on Instagram, talking about our defence and basically asking the question of, have we made it worse? You know, is our defence coming into this season effectively worse than it was last season? That is the big question right now. Because, okay, you've got to say, we lost Inigo Martinez. He is gone. He was one of our best and most consistent centre-backs last season. I don't think anybody would argue with that. He was first choice there alongside Pau Cubarsí. So you have lost one of your first choice defenders. There's no hiding from that. There's no getting around that there. But what I have to stress here too, yeah, the summer that we've had in terms of our defence, in terms of Inigo's exit, it's a big loss. His exit effectively will make our backline worse. You know, you'd have to say that. But where our defence has got significantly better, in my opinion, you can't forget about the goalkeeper. You cannot forget that this summer we have signed Joan Garcia. And it's massive, in my opinion. I think the early signs that we're seeing from him, it is early days, but I think there's so much encouragement there, so much to be excited about in the way that he's commanding his area and pulling off some absolutely fantastic 1v1 saves. And remember, guys, that a great goalkeeper, somebody really powerful between the sticks, they can genuinely be the difference between you winning and losing the Champions League. The goalkeeper is so important. So I think, yeah, we've lost Inigo. That's not ideal. But bringing in a new, young, talented goalkeeper We've needed that now for several seasons. We've been waiting for this to happen. We finally got it. And I can't wait to see his impact. I cannot wait to see if he does help us there with the amount of goals that we may or may not concede. We then have another defensive question here from David on Instagram. Do you think that the lack of a signing in terms of new fullbacks will come back to haunt us? Thinking of the semi-finals that we played against Inter Milan. And again, guys, that was painful, wasn't it? You know, the game against Inter, the way that we were so depleted in the fullback areas. And I think we were incredibly unlucky that both of them got injured at the same time there. You had Balde and Kundai, both of them ruled out of the second leg. Kundai also getting injured in the first leg. Balde was out for that too. But it can happen. You know, that's the problem here in football with this kind of season. You've got to be prepared for the worst case scenario. Things like this, they can happen. And if they do, they have the potential to unravel your entire season. So that's why for most of the summer, yeah, I've been stressing. I have genuinely been fretting over the fullback areas. But it's really interesting right now, I've got to say, because things at Barca sometimes, it's weird, it's very eerie. They have a way of kind of fixing themselves. You know, if Barca don't address a problem, if they don't actually look to find a solution themselves, something happens within the club whereby solutions to problems, they just appear from within. Because we've already spoken about Eric Garcia. I mean, he just appeared out of nowhere last season at right back. He suddenly thought, okay, I can play there, and very, very well. And Flick has found a way to really make that work. He's really stepped up there for cover on the right side. And now I'm wondering about Jofre Torrens. Is he going to be the next big thing coming up from La Masia? A big talent there at left back. He's really impressed throughout this pre-season period. Flick seems to like what he's seeing from him. And with Gerard Martin now kind of moving over to centre-back, you know, not constantly I wouldn't expect, but he is now part of that defensive cover at centre-back. So there's a real opportunity there for Jofre Torrens. And again, it just further proves the point, really. We've always said it about Barca. Sometimes you only need to look within. That is where the real quality comes from. So with that in mind, guys, should our biggest concern now be in a different area of defence? Is it no longer just about the fullbacks? Is it more regarding centre-backs? Because, well, Petru, again on Instagram here, he knows me very well because he's asked the question here. I'm curious what the biggest things that scare you in this new season are going to be. He knows I'm scared. He knows I'm going to be worrying about something, and I am. Because if it's not about the fullbacks, it has to be about the centre-backs. Because then we move on to a question here from Esan, who basically proves the point. The question is, what happens if Araujo and Christensen get injured at the same time? Now, on the face of it, you'd say, oh, well, that's a bit of a negative view there. You know, we're talking about two players getting injured. It might not happen. But as we've just said, these things can happen. You have to prepare for every single possibility. It's a dreaded question, but it's a very valid one. Two players here who, don't forget last season, in Araujo, in Christensen, they missed a lot of time with injuries there, and both of them have an injury history that would make us all a bit nervous. And I think right here this season, there is huge pressure, even more pressure now, on young Pau Cubarsí. I think we're going to be demanding so much of him yet again. And this is already somebody who at such a young age has played a lot of games, a lot of football, you know, so much has been on his shoulders. And I think it's extraordinary. I think we have to keep on saying how crazy it is here that he's an 18-year-old centre-back. He's genuinely leading this Barca back line now. He is the central defender at the club. And that is something that we've never seen before. This is absolutely unheard of. At centre-back, it's supposed to be a position that's dominated by experience, that's dominated there by physicality. And what Cubarsí is doing is absolutely unreal. Now, you will have as well Gerard Martin, as we've said. Then you've also got the likes of Eric Garcia and Kundai, who could come across if required. But again, it's not really ideal. And I just think here, even if we have one injury at centre-back, if Araujo gets injured, Cubarsí gets injured, Christensen as well, I think it's only really going to take one injury and you're going to start to hear frustration again from Barca fans about Inigo's exit. It kind of felt as though we couldn't really afford to lose him. You know, I understand why the club have done it. I understand why Inigo took on the offer. Of course, we understand all of those variables, but it is going to be another season now. It is going to be another nail-biting season, doing everything that we can to avoid injuries at the back. But But indeed, guys, we do now move on to a question about the attacking area of the team. Sam on Instagram says, do you think Lamine Yamal will score more than 20 goals this season? And so last season there, just for a comparison, Yamal hit 18 goals in all competitions for Barca. So I would say, on that basis, he got 18 last season. You would expect Yamal to develop. He has done, certainly there in terms of his finishing. You would expect him to go over what he got last season in terms of goals. I would actually go out and say he's not only going to get more than 20, I think Yamal will hit more than 25 goals this season, in my opinion. Because I just think you look at the way that he's playing right now, the way that he's taking on those chances in front of goal. You look at the goals that he scored against Como, especially there, that second one. He takes it first time, he bends it there. He's really starting to understand these kinds of finishes now. So I think Yamal, he's certainly learning a lot in front of goal. And with the amount of chances he gets into some really fantastic positions because of the dribbling, because of his movement. He will get so many more opportunities to score many, many goals. But what I would actually like to ask, and sort of ask you guys on this one, Yamal last season got 21 assists. So he got more assists last season than he did goals. Now I'm interested to know, because of Yamal improving the finishing, wanting to have more of an output in terms of goals, will the assists then drop? Do you believe that, for instance, in the season to come, Yamal will actually end with more goals now than he will assists? I think that's going to be an interesting thing to keep an eye on, because obviously now in Yamal, you've got somebody who's feeling a lot more confident in front of goal, that maybe now will feel as though he can go alone. He can go himself. He can take on more shots there, more opportunities. He doesn't need to be passing the ball on as often. But what I would just say on him, you look at his game, you look at the skill set that he has, I still want to see him being creative. The team needs that as well there. The way that he is absolutely incredible with the passing range, with the long passes, with the sweeping crosses in. And the incredible thing about Yamal, he got more assists than goals last season. And some of those assists genuinely were as good, if not better, than actual goals. The way that he pulls off some of these assists are absolutely mind-blowing. So I still want to see all sides of Yamal's game. He will improve the goal output. He will be getting more chances, more shots at goal, more opportunities, but I still want to see him getting that head up, being creative, being the kind of all-round player that we know that he can be. And in my opinion, he will be. But of course, guys, I did receive, I've got to say, so many different questions here, lots of different ones, all ranging around the same topic, and it was all regarding registrations. People aren't happy, and you know what? I absolutely understand that. I think people now are just sick and tired, let's be honest here, they are sick and tired of every single transfer window, signing players, getting deals over the line, and then when it comes down to actually playing games in the season, we're all thinking, yeah, but can we register them? Are they going to be registered in time? Counting down, waiting here until the final days and minutes and seconds to get them registered. It's not good. And above all else, it's just not professional. And a good question here comes in from Christopher regarding these registration issues. Do you think these continuous struggles to register players will affect players from other clubs wanting to join Barca if this continues in the future? Now, what I would say is, it can't be helpful, can it? And that goes for the whole group as well. It's not helpful here as well for Flick in terms of preparing for games, not really knowing if, say, Rashford is going to be registered at the weekend. Now, one summer, one window, you can forgive it. Things can happen at clubs, things can go wrong. You can forgive that happening in one summer. But I think, like I say, at Barca right now, every single transfer window, it's such an ordeal now. But what I would say about, players being put off, that hasn't happened too much so far. Players still really want to come to Barca. Players still really want to play in this team. They want to play with the players that we have. They want to play under Hansi Flick. And I think it's really a testament of what the club means around the world, what Barca represents. Players still, despite all of the issues, all of the circus that we see at the club, let's be honest, they still want to come here and are desperate to wear the shirt, which you can understand. However, what I would just say is, are we getting a few warning signs? Are we getting into a few problems, though, when you're looking at bigger signings, more high-profile players? Because I would just raise the argument here that we have gone after Nico Williams for 2 summers now in a row, and twice we have been rejected. And I would just say that both times when that happened, we were all stunned. We are not used to rejection at Barca, and the club felt the same way too. They were very angry, very disappointed. They never ever expected it, but Nico did reject us twice in a row. And there was a lot of anger, of course, about Nico's decision. But I think what's interesting here, because of the problems that we're suffering, because of the lack of planning from the board, I think both summers now, in the end, so many of us have thought, oh, well, actually, did Nico have a point? You know, did he actually look at what was going on at the club? Did he look maybe at the finer details? And did he think, well, how on earth are they going to do it? You know, what was Barca's plan in terms there of a massive transfer fee, you know, over 60 million euros in one payment, and then big wages to go with that? What were they planning to do? And I think players, you know, when you're talking about bigger signings, when you're talking here about more high-profile players, they will be more sceptical. There will be much more scrutiny over those types of deals and how they're going to register them, how they're actually going to do it, rather than some of maybe the smaller deals that we've seen and been able to make happen, guys. So I think right now, players will always want to join Barca. It's an incredible club. It's the best club in the world. And no, I am not biased. But there are a few warning signs appearing. We have to clean up our act. We have to get these things sorted and start operating again like the huge club that we are. That's what the badge should demand. And that's what will need to happen to keep attracting the very, very best. And so, that does conclude all of the questions that we have in today's video. And I've got to say, guys, I loved it. You know, I absolutely love answering your questions here directly in a video format. And if you have enjoyed this video, well, please give it a thumbs up. You know, I don't usually ask for likes, but if you did enjoy it, please do drop a like so I can see it that way. And we can do this again. You know, please do follow me there over on Instagram at TalkFCB. I'll be asking for more of your questions soon. Maybe if you do like this video, we'll even do it again with more questions before the first game of the new season. I cannot wait for Saturday to come. We've waited all summer. It is nearly here now, and what a time it's going to be. What a season we're going to have yet again with Hansi Flick at the helm, guys. So please let me know on everything we have discussed in today's video. Thank you indeed for all of you here for tuning in. I really appreciate it, and I will see you soon. But until next time, as always, Vejka, El Barça.